Welcome to Keeping It Green, a podcast for ornamental plant professionals and enthusiasts with hosts Sandy Feather, Tim Abbey.
Hello and welcome to Keeping It Green, a podcast from Penn State Extension for ornamental plant professionals and enthusiasts. I'm one of your hosts, Sandy Feather. I'm a horticulture educator with Penn State Extension, and on each episode, I'm joined by my colleagues on the green industry team as co-hosts. On today's episode, my co-host is Tim Abbey. Thanks for being here. On today's episode, we're going to be joined by Jeremy Weber from Koppert. But before we get to our interview with Jeremy, we'll start out with a quick little check-in about what we're seeing at this time of year. Tim, what's going on?
Hey Sandy, how are you? It's been a while since we've done one of these.
Yeah, it has. I'm good. How about you?
I'm doing all right. You know, it's that old cliche. You know, everybody just kind of talks about the weather, so that's what I'll talk about. I think since like the middle of March or into March, it seems like we have again, I'm like in South Central PA, these big fluctuations in temperature. We had a couple of days here around Harrisburg where we got up to 90. And then, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks ago, had a really hard frost of, I think I had 26 at my house one morning. And even now, it's like not particularly warm out the last couple of days. So
Yeah.
between that and then, like, if you took Pennsylvania and put a diagonal line from like over towards you, like southwest up to the northeast, like it seems like that western half of the state has sort of come out of drought, whereas like the eastern part, like we're still in some level of drought here. So like weather to me is still like the big issue.
Yeah, I have to agree because we've had days we haven't been quite as warm as 90, but we've been in the mid 80s, and everything got out and growing really fast, and then we've had the hard freezes, the hard frosts. I've been pretty lucky where I live, but there's a lot of frost damage to like Japanese maples and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And even the top of my dogwood tree was a little fried. So it's mostly been the weather. I mean, I'm seeing a little bit of uh like boxwood leaf miner activity and stuff, and the adults have hatched out. But there's a big planting of boxwoods on campus where my office is here in Western Pennsylvania, and I couldn't find any of the adults. I think they all froze,
Possible.
which may not be a bad thing.
Plus, it's over on your edge of this, half of the state. You're close enough to Erie County where you have box tree moth, so you got to kind of
Yeah, it's
keep
going to
up
be a
with
minute
for
before
that.
we're seeing that one.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, all in all, the weather has been the big story, I think, as opposed to any major. Although, speaking of box tree moth, Ohio, the whole state's under quarantine now.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
so
don't know. It's the state of the world with these invasives. It's kind of like an ongoing problem for the rest of our careers and after that.
yeah, maybe think of it as job security, I guess.
Exactly.
Okay, let's bring Jeremy in here and
I was just about
introduce
to
him.
jump in. It's certainly job security for me.
Yeah.
So
Oh
can you
no, a new pest? Oh darn. I hate to hear about that.
so tell me about what you do with Koppert?
So I started well, I was a nursery grower for about a decade, and then I started working for Koppert about 15 years ago. And it's cool. I've heard Paul Koppert say Koppert and
Okay.
Koppert within about 2 minutes of each other, so I don't judge.
Whatever the name of the company is.
It's just like plants. Hit all the syllables and do what you will with the vowel sounds. But no, I think over 15 years, it's been quite the ride. I started off with really no clients, just hey, figure out ornamentals, figure out how to do this. And then that evolved into, really being able to do that and sort of put some of those weird puzzle pieces together and say, hey, we can kill this, or we can control that, or we can suppress this, or whatever with other options if the chemicals are starting to fail.
Yep.
And then that's evolved over time into being the national manager for that crop. With right now, we have about 13 people in the U.S. that are working in ornamental IPM for the company as consultants in the field. And then we also took on cannabis probably, God, I feel like it was 2 or 3 years ago, but it was probably 8 or 9. Time dilation in cannabis is very real. It's a very weird crop. But it's a cut flower, so it fit into that ornamental protocol really well. And we were able to take what we knew about lettuce and all of these other crops and bring it into that crop and make that work with our team and our skill set there too. So yeah, over 15 years, it's morphed into this whole other thing where now I have people doing all of this work that I used to do. And my job is supporting them and trying to get them as good at it as I was back in the day. And it's honestly, it's a lot of fun. It's kept it very fresh and engaging. And then occasionally I still get to go into greenhouses and talk to growers again. And like, oh God, I miss this so much. It's so fun. It's so easy, like it, now. But yeah, it's been a ride, decade and a half.
And I guess
Jeremy,
since cannabis is illegal still at the federal level, that seems to be easing up a little bit, but there weren't really any pesticides labeled to use on cannabis.
There still are not.
Yeah, so I'm sure the beneficial insects are and biologicals are probably really important in that industry.
Yeah, we
yeah,
had.
Jeremy, can you,
Go
whoops,
ahead.
can you, because sometimes I think we get people who listen to this who are more like homeowner related than industry. Can you just explain to people what Koppert is and where it's based? Because we already filled in the gaps, but I think a lot of people might not know.
How long do I have? What's my time budget?
A couple of minutes on this question.
All right. I'll give you I don't know about the 30,000. Yeah, I'll give you the 30,000 foot view. So Koppert was born almost 60 years ago in the Netherlands.
Oh, wow.
So Jan Koppert, founder, he was a cucumber grower, and he was getting sick from the pesticides he was spraying, the miticides he was applying for spider mites in the crop. And he heard about a mite called Phytosylus persimilis. It is the originator of all the biocontrol industry. So he was able to get some of that in. Once the residues from those products he was applying had faded enough, he was able to get them reproducing on spider mite in his crop, and he realized that they were working and they were actually controlling the spider mites. So the first bio that was sold commercially was by Jan Koppert in paper bags. He would develop the persimilis on the spider mites on the leaves of his cukes, and he would then sell those cucumber leaves in paper bags to his buddies next door, and it just literally propagated from there. So yeah, we invented that whole industry sort of by accident. And over the years, then we got into tomatoes. So then we needed to rear parasitoids that kill whiteflies, which is the main pest in that crop. And then it's like, oh God, well, we can't spray anything because then we'll kill the parasitoids. But how do we pollinate this thing in a greenhouse? Honeybees don't work. Man, we should probably start rearing bumblebees. They work under glass and they don't sting people. So next thing you know, we're rearing bumblebees. And then we started figuring out predatory mites. And, I just took us from the 60s to the 90s really, really quickly. But once the predatory mite concept sort of really took off with regards to generalist predators, the persimilis one that eats spider mites is we call that a type 1. It only eats spider mites. It's almost impossible to rear on anything else. We generally until a few years ago could only rear it in a greenhouse on spider mites. We figured out a way to rear generalist predatory mites on storage mites that eat grain, basically. And that allowed us to take all of the production for these things into warehouses and take them out of the greenhouse and just do them in mass and at scale. So that's when we really exploded as a company, when we patented the ability to produce a specific type of feeder mite. And then we produced another mite on that feeder mite, and we're able to put those in bottles and ship them all over the planet. And that blew us up. That mite's called Amblysia swarskyii.
Right.
That I don't have a tattoo of it yet is an absolute heresy. 2026, it'll be the year. But yeah, that's the mite that really put us on the map as a company, and it kills whiteflies, it kills thrips, it kills some spider mites, it kills broad mites and russet mites. They eat everything but fungus, gnats, and aphids. So
Oh, wow.
they have their specialties and they have their environment, but once we really figured that out, then it really started to take off, and we were able to go, okay, we've got a good angle on tomatoes, but now we've got a good angle in a bunch of other crops, and we're basically able to apply a predatory mite like that similarly to a pesticide, where
Right.
a grower used to apply a product every single week over and over and over, or a rotation of products ideally.
Right.
Um, and now they can just do this every week. And if it finds the thrips, it eats it and they're dead every time. There's no resistance management. And that's really the scope of how things for the entire biocontrol industry have gone. Predatory mites are really the main players. The other big one is nematodes. We figured that out too. And, they're predatory or parasitic. Honestly, I think they're parasitic. They're entomopathogenic, whatever the heck that means. They're pathogens to insects. But yeah, nematodes are pretty interesting as well. And once we figured that out, we were able to combine all of these various pieces and put together programs for growers from just a bunch of different crops, and go, okay, whatever you're doing is not working. You're not happy with it. Whatever it is, you called us for a reason. We've got a different solution for you. Let us walk you through this and help you execute. And then, hey, what do you know? You're growing even better quality plants, but you don't have to take your shoes off before you walk home and come into your kids now, because you don't have a bunch of organophosphates on the soles of your feet when you walk into your home. As an ex-grower who sprayed a lot of sketchy stuff, this has always resonated with me. I had to be very careful when I'd come home to my 1 and 4-year-old boys.
Yeah.
With my shoes and what I'd been wearing that day. And yeah, we're able to actually help growers produce better quality plants, and taking all of that toxic load off of the crop.
That's fantastic. It really is.
15 years.
How many rearing sites do you
I'm
have?
not bored yet. It's still very rewarding.
How many rearing sites do you have around the globe?
I can't tell you that on a recorded, publicized conversation.
Okay.
No, I'm kidding. I don't know. It's probably
He'll tell us, but he'll have to kill us.
it's a little trite, but yes. But no, I honestly don't know. I mean, historically, the Netherlands has ran biocontrol for the entire globe.
Okay.
So whether or not they were produced there, that's where they were all going until 10 years ago. And yeah, I mean, whatever. We sold some to Colombia, or we sold some to, Angola for a cutting farm. But like, at the end of the day, if you look at Westland, the state of in the Netherlands there, the entire state's one gigantic greenhouse. I mean, it's a greenhouse the size of half of New England. And yeah, it's a billion different businesses, but all of those businesses were using bios. And that's where almost all of them went. So it made sense for us to have production there. Right. Easy enough. And then all of a sudden we really open up as a country. Canada really starts to take off as well. But now the US sells more bios and consumes more bios than just speaking for Koppert sales. I sell more bugs in the United States for Koppert US than Koppert Netherlands does. Wow. We're now a bigger market.
Wow.
So are we diversifying where we produce these things? You better believe it, because it's a lot of money to ship them over 6 times a week.
Sure. So you started out as a grower. How did you make the leap into becoming a biocontrol expert?
He was embarrassed when I credited this to him, but my first nursery boss at Pride's Corner Farms in Connecticut, Semi Rufino, I'm calling him out on this one, but it was awesome because I'm putting it on my tombstone. He's like, man, you talk way too much to be a propagator. and he's exactly right. And propagators, the best propagators, don't talk as much as I do. I'll tell you that much. And it's the social heads up interaction drive is very strong for me. I don't want to be left alone in a greenhouse, which is, I think, the best attribute of a propagator ever. I want to talk to people, and I like variety and all these different things, So that was what was really interesting, and it always kind of resonated with me. At first, I was kind of bitter about it, and then I'm like, oh yeah, that is true, And then I got this job just because I knew I needed to get into sales because I talked a lot, and fortunately, it ended up being way more of a consultation sort of a thing where we're not pushing product. I've been salary my whole career. I don't care if you buy one bottle or 100. I'm getting paid the same thing. Take it or leave it. Really, I want to sell more stuff, but only because I know it's a good solution and we're helping the planet, not because it affects my salary. So I was very excited to find that out, that I wasn't going to turn into what I thought at the time would be like a used car salesman, and just pushing product. But then at the end of the day, it really just sort of said, oh, this is what I should. I've been a salesperson since I could talk. I just wouldn't get paid for it. I'm being paid to grow. And it was very exhausting for me to come in and do the same thing every day. And I'm going to change the fertilizer routine every week. That's what I want to do. That's what my wiring is. And that's a terrible attribute for a grower. I wasn't a bad grower. I fought all that, and I was exhausted at the end of every day, So having this, I get to scratch all of these itches that I didn't even know that I had, and it's very easy for me. But I also look for that with new hires as well. I rescue ornamental growers that are not in the positions that they need to be in. So if you work for a client, you're safe. We don't take from clients. But if you don't, and I know you and you run your mouth a lot, and I can tell that you everything that I do, you're on the menu as far as I'm concerned. And I've successfully been able to replicate that magic in a number of really important cases, I think. And it's very rewarding, because you find somebody that is doing something that they love, but it's beating them up.
Yeah. Yep.
And it grinds at you. I love growing plants. My yard is a crazed mess. It drives my wife crazy. It's not that but it was the job itself that was just grinding me down. And, it's fun being able to sort of spot that. And when the stars align and that person is looking for work and you can do that ethically, then it's just like, it's cool to see it happen again. And we've been able to do that more times than I can count on one of my hands. And it's a lot of fun.
Nice.
Did before you start, I don't know where you started first, at Pride's, or was your original background in horticulture? Like, did you go to school for hort, or did you just kind of all later on kind of like, oh, you know what, I think I might like to work with plants?
I was all of the above. There was a point where I was really looking at trying to figure out how to be a professional lifeguard. I'm from South Carolina. I was born in Myrtle Beach, for some context on that state. Okay. There was a point there where, I got into landscaping down there, which is a 12-month a year job. And just, what sort of just went through a bunch of probably a handful of different companies just doing mow, blow, and go jobs where, you're hitting a CVS parking lot as fast as you can and getting out of there, and just doing 20 sites a day. And I was doing that for a long time and realized I had no idea what I was doing, and didn't know why I was doing what I was doing. And there was a good hort program at Trident Technical College in North Charleston, South Carolina. And I didn't want to move to Clemson. Fantastic school, but I'm from the middle of South Carolina. That's where I grew up. I'm a Gamecocks fan. I'm not going to Clemson for horticulture. I'd beat this up. So I was already living down in Charleston, and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna see what this 2-year degree is all about. And I ended up getting a degree there in horticulture technology, an associate's degree. I think I spent about $5,000 on it. And now they are free. If you go to this school, you can get the exact same degree free of charge. They just have you sign up. And
wow.
I give a talk for them. I still go back every year and do a talk there. And a fantastic program, especially for the money. And, I've safe to say I've gotten some miles out of that one. But yeah, and then at that point, as soon as I graduated, I moved to Connecticut. I could no longer be a landscaper because it snowed 7 inches on Thanksgiving. I got my first pink slip. I'm like, what the heck is this? Let's see what this degree can do. And I annoyed prides until they hired me. And I'm like, oh God, this is way more fun than mowing.
Yeah.
Now I'm mowing flats. It's a good time.
It's interesting around here, like our community colleges in Western Pennsylvania have all closed down their horticulture programs.
It doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. And I still think like that was a really good entry for you. And it was not super expensive. You didn't graduate with, hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt. And yeah, I'm not entirely. I know that they discontinued the programs because they didn't have the students.
Well, it's got to pay for itself.
Right. Oh, and Penn State's closing a bunch of its branch campuses for the same reason. They didn't have enough students to keep moving.
Yeah, and I think that's a whole podcast series worth of one topic. But
yeah, because part of it has to do with there's not as many kids. I mean, there's not as many college age kids, so that has to have some effect somewhere.
Yeah, I just notice when I'm doing these visits, and it would have been a hell of a case study to have commissioned 15 years ago, but show me the median age of everyone in this facility and let me track this over time.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely not stayed the same or gone down.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd love to see a real chart, but it's almost certainly gone up at almost every greenhouse I go to. And it's kind of scary.
Yeah. Well, one of our educators retired who was on the tree fruit team, and I sort of helped run his tree fruit meeting. And, I'm looking at these orchard growers. They're not, there's only a handful of young people there. Most of them were, getting up there.
Yeah, that always makes me nervous. Sorry, Tim, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Going back earlier, in your time there, how much, and I was surprised, how your sales in the U.S., have increased, and to me, which is a positive. Do you where's most of your market share in the U.S.? Is it the ornamentals field, or is it like vegetables, or is it another one I'm completely leaving
vegetables?
out?
Vegetables is still leading the pack for us, and by vegetables I basically mean fruit. But yeah, various types of protected fruit crops, tomatoes, strawberries are really big. There's still some peppers and some cukes here in the U.S. And then field strawberries are still huge. Yeah, the crop gets sprayed a bunch, but they also use a bunch of predatory mites. That's the reason why we started in the U.S. in the first place. It's the oldest crop we've been operating in. It's field berries. Field peppers work. Any pepper crop works really well for biocontrol, but even field peppers, you can do thousands of acres there. Hops are now a new thing where we're very active with drone overflights there, dropping persillus mites and hops.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So there's a lot of stuff going on in that overall edible thing. Cannabis is a crazy market. I probably know as much about the intricacies of all 35 states or whatever it is, because we basically have 35 different legal markets that are not connected. Maybe it's 37 now, maybe it's 33. Don't shoot me, yeah. But it's 30 something, and it's really annoying. But some of them are doing great, and some of them are doing mediocre. Most of them are mediocre. Some of them are doing absolutely terrible, and we never know what's going to happen there. But overall, it's a massive crop. It's just a bunch of different things that I have to try to manage. Or I don't even think you can manage it, honestly. It's pretty crazy, but it's still, fortunately, the physiology of that plant means that we have to use a lot of inputs. You can't reproduce predatory mites on cannabis. They have nowhere to lay their eggs. So we have to put in curative rates every single week because they're just going to die in a week. There's nowhere for them to procreate, or I'm sure they can try to procreate. They just don't have anywhere to put the eggs.
Could they
So
could they be using a banker plant system?
not for predatory mites, no. So
Okay.
they're basically using a banker plant for predatory mites, which is a slow release breeding sachet. That's how you bank predatory mites.
Okay.
And yeah, they use a bunch of sachets, and it works. We figured out cannabis probably 5, 6, 7 years ago, where it's just like, hey, if you can afford to do this, done.
Yep.
You don't have to worry about bucks. You just have to be able to buy it and put it out every week. So there's some solid options there, but unfortunately, as opposed to like a crop of Gerber daisies, you can't grow Swarovski mite on the plant itself. You can grow them inside that bag, but you can feed
Not
them
on the cannabis.
Yeah, but I mean, you flip over a cut flower greenhouse crop of Gerber daisies, and there's 40 eggs of Swarovski under there, and 20 females that are just running around, ripping thrips apart, sucking their guts out. And yeah, you'll see that carnage on a cannabis leaf, but you'll never find an egg on it. So yeah, that means lots of bugs. And there are some things that reproduce in there, but the mites don't, and that basically means we're putting a lot of product into that crop. And we have a really good sachet system for that crop. And it's a really big one for us too. Ornamentals are coming up quickly.
Okay.
We have not had, Canada had this like watershed legislation moment right around when I started, where they made a bunch of the good stuff illegal for ornamental use. And we went from being get out of my greenhouse, you crazy hippie, to I need you in here right
Help.
now.
Help.
So we were forced in Canada, and that's why and now it's just normal, and we're very active in all forms of ornamental production. In the U.S., we've never had that. We have so many chemicals here, and having more access to seeing what we're able to spray in Angola and Ethiopia and Nicaragua and Guatemala and all these other places that I now have some connection to.
Mm-hmm.
We have more chemicals to spray than they do. I figured it would be the opposite. They'd be using some crazy World War II stuff. No, that's us.
Yeah.
We have the World War II stuff. They're worried about exports to Europe, so they don't use that at all. We're not at all. We don't care what goes on our table. So we've still got a crazy amount of ornamental insecticides available here, and it's been that's my white whale.
It probably really varies state to state, though.
For ornamentals, yeah. I mean, you get into California for sure. You get into Nassau and Suffolk counties in New York. Mm-hmm. There's some differences, but it really varies more company to company. Do you allow 4 A's on your hanging baskets, neonics for the homeowners, or do you not?
Right.
And we found now where it's more internal guidelines, and we are protecting the butterflies at all costs, or yeah, screw it. That's a $8 hanging basket. Spray it with Telstar. I don't care. And you kind of run into two different mindsets in ornamentals. But it's not legislative, right? So we're dealing with that in ornamentals. But finally, a lot of that mentality is starting to shift. Where I was waiting on some legislation, that ain't happening.
That's not going to happen.
Not when you can buy legislation. So not going to happen. We're seeing the mentality shift regardless, and that's very exciting to finally see that after 15 years, where people are really getting into gear with it.
What do you think is still the biggest misconceptions about using biocontrol? I mean, I've been around this stuff now for a little over 30 years, and to me, some of the standard responses of whether somebody was going to adopt it, whether it was in production or landscape, was, well, it doesn't really work, or it's too expensive. Is that mentality still out there?
Oh yeah.
Until you get in there and show them how it works, and then they're like, "Whoa, yeah."
And that's what stinks, because so that person that's going, it doesn't work and it's really expensive. What position do they need to be in to call me? They're about to go out of business. We are blast off, which happens in a film. I mean, it doesn't not happen. honestly, that's kind of where I kind of thrive. I think we all have at Koppert, because it's a comfortable place. Yeah, we're going to be out of business in about 2 months. I need these spider mites out of here. You walk in and you can hear them.
Oh
It's,
God.
it's burning these clothes when I get home. You name it. So like, yeah, okay, we'll figure this out. And yeah, but I mean that is the problem, Tim, is those mentalities are out there. They're getting less and less common, but there's really there are those two misconceptions, that it's really expensive. It is really expensive if you buy the wrong product and apply it incorrectly and kill it in the process. And
Or you have the wrong life stage for the life stage of the pest you've got.
right,
No,
I mean,
so
it is extremely expensive. So is spraying an
the wrong
adulticide for a bunch of larval whitefly.
Yeah.
But still, it's always expensive if it doesn't work. And this is so much more nuanced and specific that I feel like, oh yeah, I bought it from, I mean, using my own personal experience prior to doing this, I bought a bunch of stuff from Griffin and it didn't work. I still kept trying because I wanted to figure it out. And I think that's the difference, is there's a lot of people that want it to work. But, I got a bunch of Swarovski for a 58-degree prop house. Well, they're from the Med.
They're not going to like that.
If they were alive when I got them, they died the day after. And no one knew that at the time. I'm not even blaming them. It was like, this was a long time ago. But yeah, so that's the problem too, is that there's a lot of people who have put their toe in the water and been absolutely ripped off due to a billion reasons. And then you extrapolate that out to an entire industry really easily. And that's what we're trying to overcome in a lot of cases, I think.
Yeah, because you're not only selling the product, because you and I, that conversation we had a month or so ago, like when they work with you and your other reps, they're getting also like a professional service, like not to simplify to this, but some hand holding. Like you're going to
Like a
go
crop
to
consultant.
right, you're going to go to the site, you're going to help them, you're going to show how to release, talk about timing, what plants they're going to work best on. It's not just kind of like, hey, we're going to sell you some of these dudes and then good luck with them.
Correct.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
we've yet to find where that. I mean, it's helping other people so that you get what you want. We've yet to find where saying, "Here's a bottle of mites, good luck," grows our sales in 5 years.
Right. Right.
It's
Because
not
if
a
they're not
long-term growth
successful,
strategy.
they're not coming back.
Right. Our goal is to sell more mites next year than this year, because it's better for the planet and it's better for us. That's our goal. So how do we do that? We do that by the hand holding and the service approach first. So I think I've got about 19 different titles depending which business card you're looking at. But the one that I think makes the most sense is I am a consultant team leader. We have teams of consultants for crops around the U.S. We have 33 people on payroll that are crop specialists. And like I said, speaking for ornamentals, I just hire ornamental growers. Not saying I steal them, but these are people that were going to go somewhere else anyway. And instead of going to sell plants, I got them for bucks. And that helps a ton to be able to walk through there and also go, hey, have you checked the seal kit on your dosatron? I'm pretty sure that thing's bat feeding into your stock tank. And truly act like consultants and on that walk, and not just, oh, we have a bug to kill those aphids. You guys should buy it.
Yeah.
No, you should spray Rycar, because the stuff that I've got is going to be way too much work. You're not ready for that right now. Let's focus on the mites and the thrips. For right now, I need you to spray a 9B for the aphids, and we'll leave that to the chemistry. So that's been a lot of fun, I think, and that's why I don't think I was so bummed to get this job after being a grower, is I still get to do a lot of the stuff I was doing as a head grower. We just walk around with a bunch of section growers and be like, well, if this was my range, this is how I'd handle it. And, that's what we do for a living. It's a lot of fun. And then we get the sales for the product and on top of that. But if we don't continue to get them, we go out of business.
Right.
We're not making a ton of money on this. It is kind of pricey, but it's very expensive to grow. I mean, like, there may be a fallacy that the people that own these companies are pretty wealthy, and maybe they are. I mean, they own big companies, but like, it's not because we're making crazy amounts of money on a bottle of mites. We spent a crazy amount of money on that bottle of mites. Yeah, the invoice is big, but we didn't keep that much of it. So if we don't continue to sell that to you for years, the model doesn't hold up. Right. So that long-term thing is, really partnering with the people that we work with is, I won't die on this hill. I will kill for this hill. I like the change of that terminology. Yeah. It is the only way to do this.
You got to going back to sort of a basic question for people who might listen who really aren't familiar with biocontrol. And you've touched upon a couple of these already as far as, and I know it's going to vary depending on what the species that you're releasing, but as far as like, how do you, I'll put this kind of in quotes, like make an application of one of these beneficials? You talked about like, the drone dropping, the sachets that you can hang, but can you kind of just give people a quick rundown on like, how do you release these?
Yeah, I'll give you the quick one, and this is from my talk at Trident Tech a couple of weeks ago, so I can remember that slide still. So nematodes are cool. They're kind of a gel formulation, but you mix those in water and you apply them similar to a pesticide, so they can be sprayed or drenched or even ran through drip tape and irrigation systems. So nematodes are pretty simple that way. They're very analogous to what people already know. Predatory mites and other types of predators, predatory insects, a lot of those cases, they're formulated in some sort of a bran or a buckwheat husk carrier, maybe vermiculite. And we use either a drone or some sort of a blower to blow those over the top of a crop, and then they fall onto the canopy and they distribute themselves from there. So that's it feels like spraying, but it's more like blowing out something. You're blowing out something dry, but it still has kind of a spray analogy to it. And then there's a number of other things that we call them things with wings, and most of the things that fly distribute themselves pretty efficiently. Predators are pretty dumb. A lot of them don't even have eyes. We don't want to overthink their capabilities. Whereas, I mean, I say it all the time. Oh, these guys are blind and stupid. If you plan on them finding that thing, they're not. Like, you have to put them on it. Whereas when we get into the things with wings, you get into things that are far more advanced evolutionarily, and yes, you're able to seek and search things out. So when you talk about the wasps that parasitize aphids,
they're amazing.
You don't want to dump the bottle in a corner of a greenhouse, but you could, and they'd still go to the other corner.
The thing, I went to an IPM, like a week-long IPM class at University of Maryland, and we had a lab, like we had lectures, and then at the end of the day, there'd be labs. And they brought out aphids in a petri dish, and they dumped a couple of those parasitic wasps in there. And so you're under a microscope watching this. And I mean, she was so fast. It took me a minute to realize, oh my God, she's laying her eggs in that aphid. Because she was just boom, 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 aphid after aphid. She didn't like stop, collect $200, pass go. She just was laying eggs.
It's crazy, but I had almost the exact same experience. We had an IPM course that Koppert Netherlands used to run out of headquarters. Okay. And we'd bring in distributors and stuff. It wasn't really for our own personnel, but we'd still go. And same thing. We put an Ophidius urvi into a petri dish with some Gerber and some foxglove aphid. And they were like, okay, now once we put it in, I want you to count how many eggs she lays.
And you can't.
And everyone just started laughing immediately.
You can't.
The whole room. It was just like,
yeah.
and we're all dead. and they don't know they're dead for another couple of weeks, but like they're all dead. It was just so fast. But yeah, so those though, we put 1,000 out in 4 piles in an acre, or something like that, and you just distribute those 4 piles evenly, for 1 per 10,000 square feet basically, and they're going to easily kill every aphid in that area that week, assuming there's no pesticide interactions or crazy airflows. There's all these other variables, but those are pretty easy to introduce because they're able to distribute themselves. But that's really the bulk of it. And I guess with sachets, where we were talking about before, blowing those guys in over the top, like I was talking about before with cannabis, where we have that self-contained breeding sachet. That's the banker system for a eyeless, really dumb little tiny tank that just runs around in the crop, and they don't have the ability to see a plant they're not touching. So if you've got 2 hanging baskets on a line or 2 cannabis plants on a table and they're not touching, you can't put mites on one of them and expect anything to happen to the other. That hanging basket that doesn't have them is where all the thrips are going to be next week, because there wasn't anything there. So we have to put something in that hanging basket when it goes up to the line that'll last for 4, 5, 6 weeks, that will have protection for that plant. So every single basket gets a sachet. Boom, it goes up there. You never see it again until you ship it, and there's no thrips in it when you pull it down. It's almost magic. And it's the same thing with cannabis. As soon as those plants go into a flowering room for 8 to 10 weeks, as soon as they hit the table, sachet on every plant. And 4 to 5 weeks later, when the plants are so covered in sticky things that the mites can't move on them anyway, the sachets have ran out. But there was nothing on the plant to then be a problem.
I
got it.
So I know there's different predatory parasitoid insects for different pests. I would assume, it's better to be releasing these things when the pest levels are low, but I bet you get people who have a mess on their hands and they're like, fix this.
Yeah, I just did an article in Grower Talks, where you hear about, well, you can only use them preventatively. And yeah, you should only spray preventatively as well. Your rates are going to be lower. You're going to be doing it less frequently. Use IPM, Scout, the whole 9 yards. But there are a number of cases. Like I said, hey, we're going out of business in 2 months. Can you save my company? Yeah, all right. The rate's normally 50 per meter. We're going to do 350 per meter. We're going to do 1,000 per meter. It's just numbers. And when we get into things that fly, it gets a little weirder. But when we're talking spider mites, it's literally just an equation. How many do you have? How fast do you want them dead? All right, you've got 1,000. Cool. You want them dead today? All right, we're going to put in 25,000.
Okay.
Or whatever that is. And it's literally just a numbers game. So I think a lot of that stuff is pretty fun. And then you go, okay, well, I'm just going to spray this or that. Cool. You're not calling me because that worked. You bought these from Florida. They've seen every miticide class of chemistry that there is.
And they're resistant to all of them. Yeah.
You can pour the bottle of Abbott on this plant, and you'll only kill 1/3 of the spider mites on it. That's why you called me. Watch this. Give me a time frame. I love saying that with spider mites. It's like, look, if you'll sign the check, tell me how fast you want them dead. I'm going to do a foliar residue test first. I'm going to make sure there's nothing there that will negatively impact the predatory mites. It costs us about $350, $400 that we've never charged for this service. But we don't start in ornamentals without pulling that residue test first, sending it to a lab, and making sure there's nothing there that's going to kill the mites. Because again, there's nothing worse than doing all this trouble and then going, oh, it didn't work, your mites stink. Nope. Our mites
you killed my mites.
Our mites always work, but there were 8 parts per billion of Telstar still on the canopy. That's all it takes. So once we know that we're clean, yeah, you want them dead this week? You want to pay for a 2 week cleanup? You want to play for, 3 week? What's the budget look like? And we can do that pretty easily. But yes, preventative always better.
But it's good to
So I
know
got
that you can do them curatively too.
We do a lot of
I got
things.
a,
It's just
It's
money.
expensive, but
Yeah, it's just
still.
money. Yeah.
so I've been curious about this, and it just kind of came to me. So does your company have like an R&D component where you have people like Indiana Jonesing around the world, like searching out new beneficials, or
I haven't met the Indiana Jones person yet. If we do, I
uh,
definitely want to meet them. But yeah, no, our R&D budget was larger than the gross sales of our second nearest competitor. Um,
because most of these things are, I mean, they're so
so yes,
small, bordering on like microscopic. Like, how many species just have never been discovered around the world? That
Right.
like predatory mites and micro, small parasitoid wasps. Just a lot of cool stuff out there still.
Yeah.
there's a bunch of stuff, and it's fun to see the bulletins on. Hey, we're going to limited release this in the Netherlands just to see what it does, and then if it so like we'll always have something interesting where we're kind of putting our toes in the water, but I think the fun stuff going forward are the micros. Um, yeah, macros are cool, which that's stuff with legs. Um, Micros are fungus, bacteria,
Hmm.
stuff like that. Um, and I mean, I think the biggest revolution that we've had has been really figuring out how to use. So before I said nematodes are EPNs, that's an entomopathogenic nematode.
Hmm.
An EPF is an entomopathogenic fungi. So in the trade, those are products called Botanigard, No Fly,
Hmm.
Icerid, Met 52, Principle's the new one from Bioworks, I think. So I mean, I'm forgetting five more, but
Bovaria. Yeah.
Bavaria is one of the genera, and then you've got Iceria, you've got Metarhizium, we've got
Hmm.
Verticillium over in the EU that we can no longer, or that we can't import to the US yet. Um, but yeah, there's all these different fungi that are entomopathogenic. They kill bugs, and learning how to properly use those has been the sort of the geeky thing that I've been enjoying for the last year or so versus the bugs. There's only
Okay.
so many more bugs you can import into the US. I mean,
Right.
they've got to
Right.
be here or the USDA will shoot you. So, yeah, I'm sure we'll find something cool, but like that arc is slowing down.
Do you
We have
get in,
solutions for all these bugs, more or less in a macro sense, but the micros, I mean, we just found Iceria growing on whiteflies 20 something years ago, and then it's like, hey, what's this? I
so
mean,
do
it's a
you get
fungi.
involved in dealing with like these invasive pests like the box tree moth or hemlock woolly adelgid, going to where those insects originated and looking at the biological controls that keeps them at bay in their home countries?
Not really.
Okay.
You don't really find any of the commercial bio companies messing around in that realm. Um, and I honestly don't know what to tell you there. To me, I mean, I'm like, why the heck don't we get our Icerid product, our Iceria? Uh, and by the way, I think we are testing it for spotted lanternfly.
Oh, cool.
I think that's on Iraq's list of things to look at. Maybe I can't remember. I'm on the very opposite end of R&D. I'm as deliberately and figuratively as far away from it as I can possibly be. I like to know this stuff's happening, but I really want to work on the applied side. Um, and so I know just enough to be dangerous here, but yeah, there certainly are things like that where I'm like, why are we not going after deer ticks with this product? Well, it's a whole new label, and that'll cost $4 million.
There'd
Oh,
be a market. That I know there would be a market.
but where else could we spend $4 million with a faster return on investment?
Yeah.
And I can list 8 things right now. So like there are a couple of things like that where it's like, man, why are we not doing this or that? And ultimately, I think it's just because we're commercial. We've got to keep the lights on. We've got to make money each year to keep everyone employed, and a lot of that stuff does not have the same ROI as, man, we should figure out Thrips parvis spinus. They just completely wiped out everybody's diplodenias in Florida.
Okay. Yeah.
It's that. Now boxwood tree moth. I really just want to. I mean, does anybody put Steinonema carpocaps and nematodes on this thing yet? Because they kill everything.
I don't know if anybody's doing that or not.
Yeah, carp's the best nematode there is. I very unpopularly advocate that we should stop selling all the other species and just sell that one because it does everything anyway. Just make it simple. Carp. If a nematode can kill it, carpocapsate kills it. And they're very effective on caterpillars and all things larval in the canopy of a plant. Once they come in contact with any of it, it's dead. It just doesn't know it yet. So I think that's one where it's kind of a, we're going to go through all the mainsprings and all these other products first. Well, okay, cool. When all of that stops working,
try the nematodes.
jbarber@koppert.com. Shoot me an email. So, yeah, that's kind of the. I wish I had a better answer for you there, because I feel like the Willie Adelgid one. Mm-hmm. Was my first job in Connecticut before I got laid off as a landscaper, was driving all over Eastern Connecticut, which was fun. I got to learn and see the whole, half the state that I lived in, but with 1,000 gallons of imidacloprid in the back of the truck and a root feeder. And it's just a paid service to go inject merit into the root zone of all these random homeowners' hemlock trees. But yeah, clearly there's some other stuff there. What we typically find is that's really the purview of universities.
Mm-hmm. And like USDA.
Yeah, somebody needs to get their graduate research in on rearing. And I made 85,000 of these wasps. We released them out in the out in 200 acres of citrus. They're out there. They're working. Problem solved.
So we're kind of getting to the end of our time, and usually we like to wrap up by asking our guest what they like to do when they're not at work.
Oh God. I'm obsessed with saltwater. I don't want to tell you how long I've been surfing for, because if you ever actually saw me do it, it would be way worse. It would be better if I told you I just started. I am terrible for the amount of time and the amount of money that I invest in that. But yeah, first and foremost, that's my kids are. I mean, my youngest son is 21. My kids are grown and out and gone, and it's just me and my wife. And I, when she's at work, and I, every morning I'm at the beach if there's waves at 4 or 5 in the morning in the summer when the sun's up. So I spend a good bit of time in the ocean, and when it's flat and you can't surf in Rhode Island, then I'm offshore fishing. So really, really saltwater focused, I think. And then when none of that works, I still love to grow plants, and I've got my goal is for us to be able to charge like a $5 admission fee just to drive up the driveway and be able to just look at the yard and the landscape. So when none of that other stuff is happening, we're here at the house and gardening and grilling and just enjoying being on the property.
Nice.
Awesome.
Sounds good.
Well, thanks for joining us, Jimmy. It was good to see you again. It's been a long time.
2 decades now.
And it was very interesting to talk to you about this. I enjoyed it.
I really appreciate it. It's a lot of fun. You can tell I love it, but it's who knows where it's going, but it continues to grow and it continues to expand, and maybe one day we'll get some legislation that kicks things into gear a little bit for us, but I'm not holding my breath.
Yeah, I'm not holding my breath on legislation, but I do think consumer demand will be what changes things.
I certainly hope so. And we see that happening just
It's slow.
a little more slowly than other developed countries.
Mhm.
For whatever, take that however you will.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks, Jeremy.
Guys, thanks so much.